Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Erik Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes. She is Shay Hickson. Shay, how are you doing, my friend? How's your week going?
It's going pretty well. Can't really complain. Got some hockey this weekend to go to. That's why we're recording a day late. I was at
Yeah.
the Penguins Pride night last night, and then Star Wars nights tomorrow night. So
Jeez. You
yeah,
going
get
to
a double
that too?
feature. Yeah, yeah, of course. I'm like, it was just so funny to me that they fully did that for me. They put both Star Wars night and Pride night like we're literally back to back. So I'm like, well, you know what? I have to. I wasn't missing either of those. So yeah, we went last night for Pride night and it was great, even though we lost. But hopefully we'll have a little better luck tomorrow for Star Wars night. But fingers crossed though. But I can't complain.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm glad you had a good week. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time listening to the Ringside Rundown podcast, welcome in. How are you doing? Grab some snacks. And this is, for those who don't know, a professional wrestling podcast where Shay and I talk about what's happening in the world of professional wrestling, whether it's WWE, AEW, New Japan, whatever have it. As long as it involves wrestling, we're talking about it on this show. And today, we have a great episode because we get back to doing what we normally do, and that is answering your questions that you have for us when it comes to anything involving wrestling. For those of you that don't know, we like to leave the show open to you guys when there's not a PLE or a pay-per-view to review or preview. We answer your questions on the podcast, and we basically answer anything that has to do with wrestling. And this week we have a big, wider range of questions from all different aspects of wrestling.
Yeah, we got some WWE, we got some AEW, we got some old school questions, we got some questions about a story time that I'm gonna end the show with, so a little like preview of that. So yeah, we got a lot of things to talk about today.
Nice, nice. I'm excited. So might as well get right into it. Let's get into answering some questions about some wrestling.
Yeah, do we want to start off with your questions? Because you said you got some on
Sure.
your end over
Yeah, I
there.
got some on my end. I'm going to start it off with the easy one. This one comes
Right?
from my friend out in Canada, Dinodian Rex, who's a friend of mine that I
Nice.
met through the
Yep.
Twitch platform many, many years ago, and we became friends. And he frequents our Ringside Rundown live streams on Twitch. And he's kind of a new wrestling fan, kind of getting back into it since the Attitude Era. But he wanted to know, what is my favorite Macho Man promo? And
Ooh.
that is difficult. That is difficult because Macho Man comes from my era when I was introduced to wrestling, the golden age of wrestling, and he's had some pretty banger promos. He's had the one before WrestleMania 5 against Hulk Hogan, where he declared that Hulkamania was dead. There's also the one about Ricky Steamboat, where he says Ricky Steamboat is a cup of coffee in the big time, and that's a favorite of mine. But the ultimate favorite of mine has to be the cream of the crop, where he's getting interviewed by Mean Gene Okerlund, and for some reason he has a bunch of these little packets of creamer in his hands, and he talks about being who's the cream of the crop. And yeah, that's just Macho Man. That's classic Macho Man for me. Macho Man and his promos were probably some of the most classic forms of professional wrestling outside of like Hulkamania. Everybody talks about Hulkamania from that era, but almost like the Joker and Batman. You can't have one without the other. You can't have Hulkamania without Macho Man. And that one in particular, the cream of the crop promo, is a definite favorite of mine. So thank you, Dinodian Rex, for the question. We'll go back and we'll listen to that promo when we get a chance together. We'll listen to that and laugh over that. I also have another question that came in through our Discord server. We have a Discord server,
Right?
ladies and gentlemen. You can get the link to the Discord server in the description of the podcast if you want to join up in our Discord server. But it comes from my friend Bella in our Discord server, and she wanted to know, if you had the power to change the outcome of one recent match, maybe a match that has happened in, let's say, the last 2 weeks, what would you have changed it to and why? I'll let you go first.
Oh, geez. Oh, that's a Tough one. Hmm. It's a very good question, actually, Pella. Thank you for that one. I feel like if this may be stretching the time limit, but I don't think it is. I'm just remembering the time frame. I would not have had Briscoe beat Fletcher for the
Damn
TNT title.
it! You
You,
stole
you
my
did that one
answer.
too, of course. Well, that's what you get from letting me go first. But no, and it makes me sound like maybe like a hater, which I'm not. Like Briscoe's great, but it's just Kyle was so good, and we were
Yeah,
like hyping him up for weeks after he won that belt of how it was gonna be. He could probably break the title defense record. He could be the full-on workhorse for that title, and oh, this is gonna be great. And then by the time he drops it, he'll be ready for the main event scene. And then that it's I feel
yeah,
like they were kind of damned if they do, damned if they didn't, because if you had Briscoe lose, then it would have been, well, Briscoe tried, but he's just the perpetual loser. He can't win the big one. Oh, that's just a shame anyway. But then you derail what could have been a really good title reign for Fletcher, so it was like, ah. So I wasn't really a fan of that happening. So if it was me personally, and clearly you too, we would have kept the belt on Fletcher, but
yeah.
clearly we're not in charge.
Yeah, I definitely would have kept the belt on Fletcher because I feel like Fletcher, you could definitely establish the TNT championship as a workhorse championship, a championship to strive for because you're going to be defending it often. And when you defend it often, that means you're on TV often. And that's kind
Yeah.
of everybody's goal is they want to be seen, they want to be on TV. So I would have kept it on Fletcher and have him really defend it quite often as the workhorse championship of AEW, and that being the TNT championship. Also, you can't forget about the stipulation that was in place for that match where if Mark Briscoe lost, he was going to be a member of the Don Callis family. Now, there's a lot of people in the Don Callis family, but it
Yeah.
is interesting to see somebody in the Don Callis family that doesn't want to be in the Don Callis family. I thought that was
Yeah.
an interesting story that they could tell. But again, we're learning that AEW isn't all about stories nowadays. It's about the matches.
Yeah, which is a shame because I think we even said they could have ran kind of like a whole Daniel Bryan and the Wyatt family kind of thing again.
Mm-hmm.
So the possibilities would have been endless on that one. And inevitably the conglomeration would have broken him out of jail essentially, and everybody would have lived happily ever after and whatever. But no, that's just the big problem where, as we've seen, unfortunately, it's kind of like WWE and AEW have like opposite problems where WWE has like the big grand storylines for the most part, and then when it kind of gets to the matches, some are good, some are like, I'm not sure why we're really doing this. But then you go over to AEW where the work in the ring is not the issue. They always have for the most part, very good matches.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like you can't just have a match for match's sake because then it's like, okay, well the match is over. Why should we care about anything after that now? You
Right.
have to give people a reason to keep tuning in and say like, I mean, we'll just say for example, say your favorite wrestler's Kyle Fletcher and he has this big match against somebody on a random Dynamite, and then it's like, oh, okay, cool, he's not advertised for next week. Oh, he's not doing anything next week. Okay, well, I don't need to tune in then. Like
Right.
you're just kind of telling your own fan base that, oh, you don't need to watch every week. It's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, that's the big thing with AEW is that if you miss a week or two of programming, you really don't miss much in terms of any stories that are trying to be established, trying to be told on the program. They don't really tell a lot of stories. They just have matches. So really all you're missing is matches. Some people, look at that and they go, okay, well, if I miss a match or two, it is what it is. Other people are really like adamant about paying attention to the product, and
Yeah.
you just kind of hope that Tony Khan isn't alienating any of his potential viewers, because that's the thing too, is like you want to retain as many viewers as you possibly can, so you have to find a balance. I think that's
Yeah.
the main thing about AEW is that they don't want to find that balance. Nobody's saying you can't have good matches, but what about trying to attach some good stories to those matches? It's
Yeah.
not a hard thing to do. That should
Shouldn't
be
be.
that should be your bread and butter. Is like, and it goes back again. If you miss a week of Raw or SmackDown, you're in the dark. when it comes to next week. Because what's the first thing they do on a Raw or SmackDown when the show starts? They recap what happened last week because it somehow ties into this week. That's not something you see regularly on AEW programming. So again, it's a far bigger issue than just Kyle Fletcher not being the TNT champion anymore. To go back to the question, it's a far bigger issue of we need more stories to go along with these matches so that way they give us a reason to keep tuning in.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you see what these questions do to us. They just get us on these rants, but it's true though. You just need to give them a reason to continuously tune into your programming, because if not, you're just going to end up having a good portion of your fan base be casual fans, where it's like, oh, well, you're a fan of AEW. Oh, yeah, I am. Oh, but just like casual. Okay, well, how often you watch? Yeah, maybe a couple like weeks, every other week or so, maybe, or every couple of weeks. That's not what's going to keep them in business.
Right.
You want the fans who are the diehards who tune in every single week to every show, buy every pay-per-view, get all the merch. Not a lot of people have to do that, because it's just like you said, you can skip a couple weeks of Dynamite or Collision or whatever and you're good.
Yeah.
Or hell, all you have to do is just watch Twitter. That pretty much solves your problem, which is not good. Like if you're getting your updates off of Twitter, tells you it's not so interesting.
Yeah.
But what do we know? All right, so I'm assuming that's all on your side of questions.
Yep, that are all the questions that I had to take over. Now we're passing the ball back to the quarterback. That's you.
All right. We're getting back here. But thank you to Bella and Dinotium for the questions. We do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys very much.
Alrighty, so we're gonna start off. We're gonna do it a little differently this time. We're gonna start off with Mike's questions.
Okay.
And his very first question, I can just see him listening to this little section right now, just laughing, because he knows what he's doing when he asks this. And this is a can of worms question, if I have ever seen one. It's a simple question, and that is, I don't even want to say his name. Will the President of the United States be in attendance for Cena's last match? Because unfortunately, that's been rumored for a little while now, and I'm just going to be completely honest. Would I be surprised if he shows up? No. If they show his face one singular time on this program, I'm turning it off. Like, I'm already just on the fence of not even watching it, period. Wow. But just the fact of, like, you show his face on TV, I'm turning it off immediately.
Wow.
I can't stand him. Like, I mean, if you guys couldn't tell from, like, the, like, inferences and, like, little nuggets we've kind of dropped here and there over God knows how long, I can't stand our president at all for various reasons. So, just the fact that he might even be at the show just makes my blood boil a little bit. So that's my answer.
Mike. You raised her blood pressure.
As if I need that, but yeah, like no, I'm not even joking though. If I even see it on Twitter, if I even see it on TV, anything, like I'm turning it off. Like I'm not gonna watch the rest of it. I just would fucking refuse.
I don't think he's gonna be there, but I do think there's a possibility he does get some screen time. You know that they like to do those messages, where they play a pre-taped recorded message. I feel like we're gonna get one of those. And it's gonna be very very interesting, but definitely a shit stirring of the pot by Mike here, asking you of all people whether the good old president is gonna come to Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, because he gives a shit about wrestling.
Well,
he really does give a shit about wrestling.
He is a WWE Hall of Famer.
He probably forgot about that, to be honest. He forgets about a lot of things.
We
But
anyway, we got to give him credit there. He's a WWE Hall of Famer.
For no fucking reason.
Mike's probably cracking up now.
Yeah, he's just enjoying this. This is great. It's whatever. We answered the question. We answered it, so we're just gonna, keep moving on. So, what are our thoughts on TNA getting the AMC TV deal? Will that allow either of us to watch it if we so choose? I think so. I don't remember if I think I have AMC on Xfinity.
Yeah.
Shouldn't anyway, but yeah, maybe if I have some very precious free time, I may like tune in here and there, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I honestly didn't even hear about that. I've been kind of out of the loop for a minute, but
Yeah, they
good for them for getting a TV deal though. They needed it.
yeah, they got a TV deal with AMC. I get AMC, so I'm very happy. Most likely we're gonna be adding that to the stream rotation, as if I don't need a day off anyway. But
Yeah,
I'm
what's the day
I'm
off?
yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really happy for TNA. They've really done a great job,
Hmm.
they've been through so much as an organization. They've been knocking on death's door more than one time throughout their history as an organization, and sometimes somehow they just figure out a way to keep fighting back. And now it's come to a point where they have a good crop of talent in their roster, a
Oh
good
yeah.
crop of young talent mixed in with some veterans from other promotions that have worked the big time promotions and stuff like that. And they're putting on good shows. They're filling up arenas, and that was the hardest part for them for the longest time, was filling up their venues that they would go to. But now they're filling up the venues that they go to. People are into the product, so I'm really excited to see it eventually, and get familiar with it and have another bit of wrestling to watch on the streams and stuff. So I'm excited.
Yeah, like I said, good for them because God knows that they have been through enough over the course of their existence. So, good
Yes.
on them. So yes, good for TNA. You'll definitely be watching because again, you don't know what a day off is. So
Yeah, if I can keep adding more content, I'm sickly gonna do it. So I'm very excited to be able to bring that to the channel, and hopefully that gets some new viewers in.
yeah, see, this is for the sickos, not AEW. This program is for the sickos, but anyway, so all right, after that is well, kind of going off of it, will AJ Styles wrestle on TNA's first show on AMC? I feel like it'd
Ooh,
be kind of silly for them not to let him do it because he was such an integral part of TNA back in the
right.
day. So I mean, and WWE does work with TNA, so it's not like it couldn't happen
Yeah.
because he's in the wrong company. So I feel like he should because why not? Let him do it.
Yeah, that'd be if the opportunity presents itself. I think it should be something that they should look into. I think they're doing a great job of commingling the companies. I mean, look at Saturday night's main event. What's
Yeah.
going to be going down? We're going to have AJ Styles and Dragon Lee against Javon Evans and Leon Slater. Leon Slater coming from TNA, and you're going to have the current X Division champion sharing a ring with the very first X Division champion. So that's pretty cool, and it's one of those things that you look at and go, that's neat. That's some wrestling sort of storytelling, and it's really neat that they put themselves in this position where they're working with other companies. Because 10 years ago, would you think that WWE was working with TNA? That would
No.
be mind blowing. So to be able to do it, I think if the opportunity presents itself where they can have AJ Styles on the first show to get a big rating, I don't see why not. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be him wrestling. It could just be an
Yeah.
in ring segment, or he interrupts a promo or something like that. Hell, even
Yeah.
a via satellite or like pre-taped little video that they do, with the magic of TV production, I think would be a
Yeah.
great idea. But yeah, any way you can get someone as big as AJ Styles involved in the first episode of TNA on AMC, I would think that you should definitely jump up and take it. And it'd be a goodwill sort of situation for WWE for them to take it.
Yeah, and I feel like that would be one of the exceptions to the rules, like we always say, of, oh, well, you shouldn't spoil the surprise. If you want the big rating, say ahead of time that he's going to be there in some capacity,
Hmm.
because then everybody's going to want to watch it at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you'll get it's kind of like, it's tough because I feel like you get like maybe perhaps a bigger like social media buzz when it's a surprise, but that doesn't always translate to TV ratings because by the time people see it on Twitter, oh, it's already gone. So it's like you're not going to be tuning in unless you're already in on it. So I would just let people know ahead of time if he's going to be there or not because I feel like most people that are going to be there were going to expect him to be there anyway, because again, he was a big part of TNA back in the day. So I think a lot of people in the back of their minds are probably like, oh, well, I really hope he shows up because why wouldn't he?
Hmm.
They'd be kind of stupid not to. So we'll see what happens, but I would think if we were to put money on it, I would say more than likely, yes, he will be there in some capacity.
Hopefully.
We can only hope. All right, so for more deals and whatnot, so Netflix reportedly is buying Warner Brothers and HBO Max. So does AEW get booted from Max? I know that, well, that whole thing's a mess from what
Mm.
I've heard. Because first it was, oh, it's for sure Netflix, and then it's, oh no, it might still be Paramount, and then somebody else is sticking his nose where it doesn't belong because he can't help himself. So I feel like when I first heard it, I had heard that like the cable TV was fine, so Dynamite and Collision weren't really going anywhere, but they didn't really say the same for HBO Max.
Mm.
So I think, mm, I don't know, because I don't know if WWE is going to be happy with the competition being on the same network in some capacity if they
Right.
do move them to Netflix. But I don't think WWE is really going to have much of a choice because they don't get call the shots when it comes to Netflix. Netflix calls their shots whether WWE likes it or not.
Right.
So I feel like that would probably be where it would go, maybe, which I mean helps some people out because that's one less thing you have to buy if you so choose.
Right, yeah,
But
that's what I'm looking at. Is just one less thing to buy. Even though, like, I have HBO Max and I could easily consume the AEW product through HBO Max. I never tried to, so I would, I
yeah,
would, I would be lost. You know?
yeah, because I have cable, so I just watch on cable, so the deal wouldn't really affect me one way or another. But I don't know. It also depends on if perhaps they put the pay-per-views on Netflix, but even then, I don't know if they're going to do that.
Mm,
And if they do, I hope they don't do that scummy thing they were doing with HBO Max, where it's like, well, I mean, you can watch like other stuff with AEW on HBO Max for like the price of the subscription. You still have to pay for the pay-per-view though, which I still
yeah.
think is just so stupid, but whatever.
Mm,
But yeah, I'd be a little worried about the stuff on Max, but again, if you have cable, you would be fine, but not everybody has cable, so if I were in that boat, I'd be a little worried, but that just remains to be seen because clearly we're still going to have a tug of war on who actually gets to own Warner Brothers at some point because just when you think someone's going to own it, somebody else throws their hat in and then somebody else swoops in and now they're all just like fighting and screaming at each other. So I don't know what's going to go on. I don't know how long this is going to get drug out. So maybe for the time being they're safe, but I wouldn't hold out too much that it's going to be a prolonged thing. I feel like somebody's wallet's going to be big enough and they're not going to be able to ignore it. So I don't know. It's just
Now, the way it
capitalism.
was originally that Paramount was going to buy Warner Brothers and then Netflix just swooped in and said, no, we'll offer more money. Is that what I'm gathering from this
I
whole situation?
I think that's what happened, but then there came like the plot twist of Paramount can still like do a hostile like bid on them or something. So there's a chance Paramount still might do something.
Mm.
And then of course our stupid fucking president wants to get involved because his I don't know, he has family ties to Paramount or something, or there's something that's going on there because God forbid he not have his name on everything. So that probably is going to have something to do with the two in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, it's just like a whole mess.
Interesting.
Like, it's, like I said, it's capitalism. It's annoying. It's
Yeah.
very annoying, and the poor people just have to suffer through it.
Yeah, because I was talking to my dad earlier about it because he doesn't have Peacock, so he's pissed he's
Mm.
gonna be missing John Cena's last match, and we were just talking about it, and it's just ridiculous. If you want to watch Raw, you got to have Netflix. If you want to watch
Yeah.
NXT, you got to have some sort of cable streaming service. Then AEW, and then now TNA is another reason you have to have some sort of cable streaming service. SmackDown on USA means you have to have some cable streaming service. PLE's on ESPN.
Mhm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. If I have to download another app, I'm gonna scream.
Yeah, that's literally the conversation my friend and I were having at work because he's kind of into wrestling but not really, and for whatever reason we were talking about like streaming services and whatever, and he's like, I don't usually like monopolies or agree with monopolies, but when it comes to streaming services there should really only be like a handful, not like all of these. And I'm like, yeah, dude, and if you're a wrestling fan then it's even worse. And I like pretty much went with through what you had said about how if you want to watch NXT and SmackDown, you need cable. If you want to watch Raw, you need Netflix. If you need to watch a pay-per-view, you need ESPN now. But if you have cable, it may be free through your cable, but you have to have a specific kind. And he's just like, that is just insane. I'm like, yeah, it really is. It's just you shouldn't have to spend so much money. It's honestly almost more or just as much, if not maybe more than cable at this point for
Oh
some
yeah.
people, which is like wild because wasn't that supposed to be the thing that ended cable was streaming? Now they're just as worse. They're worse. They're literally became the villain of this whole story. So yeah, it's wild. It's just that could be a whole other podcast episode on its own, just the horrors of streaming services, especially in wrestling right now. But
Yep.
yeah, and that's just WWE because then you add AEW into it, and you probably need HBO Max. You at least need internet to get the pay-per-views. Like it's just, it's not as bad, but it's still bad enough. It's just, and then people wonder why everything's so expensive because these corporations just like jacking the prices up, and they know they're holding you hostage. And if you don't want to deal with their stuff, they'll be like, okay, well, that's fine. Two other people behind you or 2,000 other people behind you are going to spend on money. So we don't care, which is just sad. But
Yep.
again, capitalism. It's great. It's a great time.
Mhm.
All right. So maybe to something a little more fun and less depressing. If we could bring back one commentator between Kevin Patrick, Kevin Kelly, Coach, Adam Verk, Mike Tenay, or Mauro Ranallo, who would it be?
Mm. I would go with Mauro Ranallo. I
Yeah,
think.
see, I was gonna say that too. Yeah.
He was good at what he did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I guess the grind of it all is kind of what got to him. But he
Yeah.
is always good at what he did. He brought back the passion
Yes.
in commentary that was severely lacking. So I would have to go with Mauro Ranallo. I would love to see him, especially now with like he was doing such a great job on NXT, but now most of what he did on NXT is now on the main roster. So he would flourish on the main roster and do very good job. I think the commentary, the way it's set up now, is very good. Where you have Michael Cole and Corey Graves on SmackDown, you have Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett on Raw. I think both of those teams are very good. So it would be very interesting to see where he would fit in, but I think he would work very well this iteration of WWE programming.
Yeah, and as usual, we both completely agree because I would also pick Morrow because he definitely added an extra little like flair to the black and gold NXT days for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So it's just I miss that kind of energy, his kind of energy, because not everybody can pull off how he announces and how he does things, but he just has that little like extra something that just made things so great. And like I
Mhm.
said, it just like helped the NXT, the black and gold era so much. And I just remember really being bummed out when he left, but I could also understand why, because you got to take care of your mental health more than anything. And I can imagine that's not a very easy job to deal with.
Mm.
So yeah, I would definitely love to have him back just to see what he would do now, like you said. But yeah, if anybody, it would be him. And there was gonna never be anybody else. That was always gonna be my answer for
Mhm.
sure. So as usual, we're just in lockstep with each other, as it is.
As it is, as it's always been since 2021.
Pretty much, yeah, it's never changed, and I don't think it will at this rate. If it does, I think if it does, then we need to get a little worried. I think that's when we know somebody's losing it. But I digress, though. So, there's another maybe can of worms question. Do we believe Cena will never wrestle again? Mike saw what he only assumed was a Mark's wet dream booking, being that after Cena loses on Saturday night's main event, The Rock's music hits and comes out and says Cena owes him one more match at WrestleMania. If that actually happens, I quit. I quit because The Rock getting involved in anything at this point is just a mess. And to be fair, though, from what I've been hearing with some of Cena's like interviews lately, he's really not endearing himself to a section of the fan base because it's just I don't know. I guess just flat out refusal to admit that this run was not as good as it could have been.
Mhm.
And it's like you get it because he's a company guy. He's never going to trash the company that made him money, blah, 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 whatever. But you can also still at least admit it a little bit because if not, then you kind of are acting like a shill. But because you would think even behind closed doors, he'd have to admit his retirement tour is absolutely nothing what we thought it would be. It's just been, I'd say overall a miss, but again, we've talked about that 5,000 times over the past year, and it kind of seemed like he just let it happen from what I had heard. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was pretty much just like, yeah, pretty much they were in charge, and I just did what it was, and supposedly the heel turn was just for a viral moment and nothing else. He pretty much admitted that, which I'm like, yeah, it is very, very fucking obvious because you guys had no plans after it whatsoever, and it was garbage and was the biggest like stain on this whole retirement tour, and then having to do damage control 3/4 of the way through, and by then it was pretty much too late. But yeah, that's just so his whole press tour lately has not been helping him too much. But as far as do we believe that Cena will never wrestle again, I feel like that dream booking aside, I guess, you kind of just have to take him at his word. And if he says you're never going to see me again in a ring, then we're never going to see him again in a ring. I mean, and if he does, then you can call him out and say that he was a liar and you just came back for whatever reason. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But I don't know. I feel like he has enough going on outside of WWE that it's not like he feels like, oh, I felt so unfulfilled, I have to come back. So I feel like if this is his last match, it's going to absolutely be his last match. But you never know. We always say a wrestler retiring means they never actually retire, but
Right.
maybe Cena will be the exception to it. But
I think he
I don't know.
will. I think he's the type that when he says I'm never gonna do something, he kind of means it, and I think that's why.
Well, that's not entirely true because remember he was never going to get married, so
Oh yeah, well, I
Well,
mean, those are
but
those are but I mean, in a wrestling sense,
yes,
when he says he's not going to do something anymore, I kind of tend to believe him. If it was anybody else, maybe. But I think Cena, when he says he's done because he has a very valid reason to want to be done. He, according to him, he's slowing down and
yeah.
he's not moving as well as he used to do back in his prime. But yet he's
Mhm.
still out there putting out these banger performances against guys like AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio. That makes you think, well, if he wanted to, he could definitely keep going.
still, still do it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely leaving, maybe not necessarily in his prime, but he's not leaving where he's broken down like a Ric Flair where it's like a train wreck to watch.
Yeah,
Um
shell of himself.
yeah, I think he wants to preserve that. I think his legacy and the perception of his legacy is very important to him. So I think he wants to preserve that and he wants to go out on a high note and I think he and Gunther are going to have a fantastic match.
Oh yeah, I'm not. However, I did see, and I don't know if you saw it too, the rumor that supposedly it's going to open the show, and
Mm,
I don't really agree with that if that's the case,
mm.
because
That is a weird choice.
yeah, because God help that crowd afterwards. You really think anybody's going to give a shit about any other match really outside of Cena's retirement tour?
I,
Like,
I
that's
mean, this Saturday night's main event is outside of the Cena stuff is pretty big. I mean, you got Oba Femi versus Cody Rhodes, Sol Ruka versus Bailey. We talked about AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus Javon Evans and Leon Slater. So this is a pretty big Saturday night's main event. Like I feel like they really put all their chips in the basket, you know?
yeah. Because I feel like I guess not in the sense of like the card's not good around it. It's just the problem is I feel bad for what that crowd, the energy is going to get sucked out of that building as soon as Cena's done. So I
Right.
feel like you need to have that as the main event. The fact
Yeah,
that they're
I wouldn't
considering
mess
that as
around.
like no.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess around with that. I'd keep it for the very end, the main attraction. I don't think there's any reason to overthink it. I think that's what would happen if they put it on first to happen, open the show. They're overthinking it. You know, I
Yeah.
think it'll be a better idea just to keep it in that main event slot at the very end.
Yeah. It again, just the fact that they're even considering putting that as the opener is just like what the fuck are you guys thinking? But
Mhm.
I don't know. So hopefully that's just like a fleeting thought and it does end up being the main event because like I said, I just feel bad for every match after that because that crowd's going to struggle to well, hopefully. You never know. They might like revive themselves, but I feel like that's a very emotional toll to take on a crowd right at the beginning of that show. But
Yeah.
we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But hopefully that rumor is dead wrong or it changes. All right, so staying on topic with Cena, Mike said he knows Punk says he's Cena's greatest feud. Do we agree? Because Mike gives a slight nod to Punk, but Orton's right there too for me. I feel like to me, when it comes to Cena's best rival, it has to be Randy. Like, that thing just had everything. It was like just mixing personal with professional and, Orton punting his dad's head off. And it's just, it had everything. And I think I'm also kind of just biased because I got to see the Iron Man match at Bragging Rights a couple years ago, or
Mhm.
back in the day. So I may be a little biased, but I feel like there was just, that was such an emotionally charged kind of rivalry that I mean Punk's is up there too, but I feel like if I had to pick between one or the other, I think I would have to go with Orton's because Orton in that prime back then was just like you could not help but hate that guy's guts. So it was just the perfect blend of somebody who it was very, very easy to hate and Cena who was the perpetual ultimate good guy. So it's like it was just like a match made in heaven at that point. So I'd have to give it to Orton as Cena's number one feud and opponent, but Punk's probably like 1B.
Yeah, I would still go with Punk myself. Just because Money in the Bank 2011
Oh, yeah.
is such a memorable moment.
Yeah.
Money in the Bank 2011 just sticks out in your head, especially it being in Chicago, Punk's hometown. The way that building was just on a fever pitch. You know, they were
Yeah.
literally moving the building, waiting for this match to happen. And the fact that Cena and Punk have always had great matches that you could tell they have such good chemistry with each other that they could wrestle each other blindfold and they would know
Yeah.
exactly how to put on a good match. That's how good, and they're like, Cena calls Punk his wrestling soulmate. You know, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's for a good reason. It's just the caliber of matches that they had, where it was just even, it was neck and neck, and it was always Punk who always brought out the best in Cena to make people remember that, you know, you may hate his guts because remember, this was around the time where everybody was like, Cena sucks and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And anytime he would have a match with Punk, you would have to give him his flowers, whether you liked him or not, because he always brought out the best in him. So that's just me personal, but I definitely enjoyed the Randy Orton feuds, and I thought they were top notch as well.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, both of those are easily. I mean, hell, you could throw Edge in there. I feel like those are the top three, like
Yeah,
Cena feuds, easily. And you could honestly intermix any of those and have any of those three feuds as number one, and it'd be really hard to argue against it.
Mm-hmm.
So that just shows you how good all of them were involved in those, all three of them. So yeah, I say you couldn't really go wrong with either. But
For
I
sure.
love how we just said we were both in lockstep, and then immediately we just like immediately we pick something different. But again, you can't really go wrong with either of those feuds. I think those are easily like one A, and then Edge is like 1B. So a lot of good feuds in Cena's career. It's just kind of a shame we didn't really end with either like any of those, to be honest. I feel like granted would have been a little like on the nose and like predictable, yes, but I feel like people wouldn't have complained about it. But again, that's a whole other can of worms about this retirement tour that we're not gonna open tonight. But we know how we feel. All right, so AJ and Tanahashi are retiring in 2026. Who do you think will join them in retirement before the end of 2026?
I would say AJ
Ugh.
Styles.
I think that's what he meant. Yes, besides Tanahashi and Styles.
Besides Tanahashi and Styles,
Yeah, who do you think's going to join them?
um,
The possibility Copeland, maybe, depending.
yeah, I mean
I don't think it's like likely though. Jericho, if you're hoping, you're just
Jer-
hoping. There's no like, you're
I'm
just praying that that actually happens.
Nah, I feel like the chances of Jericho going back to WWE are very high at this point. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
he's
but
not
he could be gone though.
he's not stupid. He wants the spotlight. He's gonna go where the spotlight wants to have him.
Yeah, but that still means he could retire though by 2026, and your wish will be
Yeah,
granted. But
it could be like he'll go back for one more year to the WWE and have a grand closing there. I
yeah,
don't
that's your
know.
hope.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's mine. But I'm
Yeah.
not that self-centered where I think it all has to run through me. I know wrestling fans are different. Some people are very excited to see Chris Jericho back in WWE.
Yeah, we are not two of those people, but
No,
you know,
no, we're
it's
not.
fine.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
that's your bag, that's your bag. I mean, I think Jericho is a wise choice to say, have a final run in 2026 and have a big one and then hang it up. But I really don't know outside of Tanahashi, Styles, Cena,
Mm,
like the 2026 is pretty much claim, and that's a big claim right there. That's like the Grim Reaper coming after all those people.
yeah.
It's like who's left. You know.
Yeah. I can't really think of anybody because I know that well, because I saw the thing that Eddie Kingston said of like he has 6 more years on his AEW contract and then
Mm,
he's retiring after that. But that's like, a little bit of a ways away. But trying to think if there's anybody in AEW that would possibly retire next year.
Christian's
Hmm,
too good.
yeah,
Um,
Copeland won't.
Copeland
They'll
just
both
straight up
go
won't.
they'll both go out together, I think, maybe. Maybe. Um, hmm.
Huh.
Samoa Joe, maybe.
Oh.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? But I mean, I think they've been kind of alluding to that a lot. I mean, hell, they alluded to it at the last pay-per-view and we saw how that went. But I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility either. So maybe Joe, but I feel like if we had to pick between who's more likely, Jericho or Samoa Joe, I think it would still be Jericho, but
Yeah.
there's still a chance, unfortunately. But depends on how long they're going to keep the title on Samoa Joe, but that remains to be seen on that one. But yeah, it's tough because I just can't really, I don't know. There's probably somebody we're missing where it's so obvious, but I feel like those are just the two that are sticking out in my head anyway. But yeah, because I can't think of anybody else in AEW.
Hmm.
We'll just go with those two, but mainly
Yeah.
Jericho.
I can't think of anyone else in my head.
Yeah, because you're still summoning the like ritual circle to like get Jericho to retire next year, and that's your plan. Got the circle like in your bedroom and everything. Got like the sage and whatnot, and the witchcraft and whatnot. But yeah, well, but yeah, other than Jericho, That's really the only other one I can think of, Samoa Joe, but even then I'm not so sure about that one, but
Mm.
I don't know. So we're gonna go to a little bit of a controversial question. I knew we were gonna have to talk about this at some point.
Uh-oh.
So Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins were on whose podcast was it? Trying to remember his name. Anyway, it was on somebody's podcast, and Becky talked about a story in which when she just got up to the main roster, there was a guy, and she couldn't name who, obviously, but would blacklist the women if they did or did not sleep with him.
Mm.
And obviously couldn't, for I'm sure for legal reasons, say who it was. So who is the male wrestler we think Becky was speaking of in that interview? Um, yeah, so the big thing is, who do we think that could have been?
Oh man.
And I saw a couple people like throwing some names out there, but I feel like some of them were just like, somebody said Jericho, but I'm like, I don't really feel like that made sense. I just don't know why. I just don't think it did. But somebody said maybe Ziggler because he kind of like had a
Yeah.
reputation of running through the entire locker room. So it could have been Ziggler because I mean, I feel like if he wanted to, he could have a bit of an ego. So it could have been him maybe. I'm trying to think of who else it could have possibly been because it wouldn't. I don't think it would have been Cena. That I definitely wasn't Cena. I don't think.
No.
So I'm thinking possibly Ziggler, but because they had like who were the big names like around that time when Becky like came up, and there was Jericho, there was Cena, there was Ziggler still. Trying to remember who else. Because they pretty much said it was like a bigger name person, or at least they made it seem like it was a bigger name person. It wasn't just some random ass guy, because clearly had enough clout to blacklist people.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm just gonna go with it might have been Ziggler, just again from his reputation preceding him on running through a lot of people. So I'll just say it might have been Ziggler, but I don't know if we're ever gonna actually fully know who it was.
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback on you and say, yeah, Ziggler, because I really don't know who you could point the finger like that's the thing with like wrestling and like these this day and age, you know, with like dating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you're not a wrestler, like it's hard to comprehend the lifestyle, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's why you see a lot of now wrestlers marrying wrestlers because they kind of
Yeah.
understand the lifestyle and the grind and stuff like that. I don't know who it is. I was very surprised to hear that. I there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe she should go to the higher ups and say who this person is, so this
Yeah.
person can't do that sort of stuff anymore. But you know, people are people, and they're gonna do what they want to, and if Becky feels it's necessary to come forward one day, she will. But I don't know. I would say Ziggler seems like the only guy that's like kind of like that. It sounds sleazy and
Yeah.
it's kind of horrible because you're assuming
Yeah.
the worst.
Yeah, because it's not a good look at all. Somebody else said Laurinaitis, but I'm like, I don't know if that would have counted, but that also wouldn't have been a surprise either.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, either way, it's just not a good not a good look for whoever it actually is, because I don't really know how you can spin that in a way that is not unbecoming, but eh, yeah, not great. So will we ever figure out who that is? I doubt it, but
Mm,
you never know. Stranger things have happened, so I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility.
mm.
All right, so this is Mike's last question, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I can't fully go into it because we have another question about it later. But Mike asked me, do I have a follow-up picture from me and my mom getting to meet Killer Cross and Scarlet, the one where your mom planted a big kiss on Killer Cross? Um, no, I don't, unfortunately. One picture was one picture, and that was it. But no, we I don't know if we talked about it last week. We went up to Steel City Con, which is kind of like Pittsburgh's big convention. We have several throughout the year, but like Comic-Con or Steel City Con's like the big one. About like 20-30 minutes outside the city. And they always have like wrestlers and people from pretty much every like movie genre you can think of. They had a bunch of people from like Nightmare on Elm Street this time. They had the main reason we actually went initially was that the first big headliner they had was Linda Hamilton from Terminator.
Nice.
And I love the Terminator movies, so I'm like, I have to meet Sarah Connor because like that I'd be stupid not to. And as like the months leading up to it'll go on, they'll add more and more people, and then they brought in Robert Patrick. So I'm like, well, of course now I have to meet the T1000 that terrified me as a kid in Judgment Day. So I had to meet him, and then I think I kind of talked it into existence of wouldn't it be kind of funny if they brought in Killer and Scarlet? And Mom's like, that's not gonna happen. They're not gonna do that. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. 2 days later, they announced them. So I'm like, well, of course we have to see them too.
Mm.
So we always get like the 3-day pass because it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they were only going to be there Saturday, Sunday. I will get more into detail of like the days and whatnot in a question later on. But yeah, they were just super cool. And I'll save the rest for later, but they were awesome. They're pretty, if you watch the documentary they have on their YouTube, they're literally just like that in the I mean, obviously the documentary, it's like you have to paint them in a good light, but even without cameras and everything, they were super cool. Talked to us for like 5 or 10 minutes. We gave them some gifts that we figured they would like. So I'll save the details for later in the show. But yeah, they were super cool. And unfortunately, there is no other hidden second picture of Mom kissing Killer Cross because I feel like Scarlet would have probably not liked that too much.
Yeah,
But
yeah. If it was Damian Priest, that'd be a different story.
if it was Damian Priest, I would have just like not even been in the picture. I just would have been like, give her 2 photos and that's it. But maybe someday, who knows? If he does show up, I think all bets are off, and you better start saving up some money because I can't afford the bail. So. All right, so that's all of Mike's questions. So, Mike, thank you as always, even though you had that very terrible first question. But
thank you, Mike.
We answered it. That's all we. What more could you want from us? We answered the
we
question.
did our job.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, so we're just gonna move on. So, Mom had a couple questions and comments, and her first one is, do you think Gunther is the right final match for Cena, and how does the match end in our opinion?
I think he is. I think Gunther has definitely earned the right, and I think this is like another notch in his belt in terms of a great career that he's had. I think Gunther is definitely out of the 16 that were in the tournament. Gunther is definitely the most compelling because I feel like he's gonna mesh well with Cena and Cena's style. Cena's not gonna necessarily have only the 5 moves that he does, but he's gonna have to break out some other stuff. But it works well with Gunther because Gunther is such a simple guy. There's not much to Gunther outside of clotheslines and chops and body slams. He's a real old school professional wrestler. So this is gonna be different for Cena, but I think this is gonna be a good pace for Cena. I think it's gonna be back and forth. As far as who wins, I don't know. That's the tough part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who I got as a winner. Cena, if you told Cena, hey, Cena, we want you to lose this match to Gunther, he will gladly take the L against Gunther, and I don't know if they leave it up to him, what he would want to do. It's this one of those things where if Cena wins, great. If he loses, great for Gunther. It's not a bad thing, win or loss. I think I'm just interested more in the match and how's it gonna go.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are expecting Cena to lose, like go out on your shield, I guess. I think regardless, the crowd's just gonna react appropriately either way.
Right.
Still gonna get the big send off anyway. I feel like you could see Gunther getting the win, kind of like what you said, put another notch in his belt, give him another win, because, he's been, I don't want to say he's been, like, off lately, but I feel like he could use another, like, push back up into like the main event scene perhaps. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that could help, because I feel like if he loses, I don't think it would like irreparably damage him in WWE, but I feel like it would probably help him more if he won.
Right.
And I mean, you just do the thing that everybody hates in AEW, where he puts him in the choke hold and makes him pass out. Because I don't think Cena's not tapping. If he's losing, he's not tapping. So I feel like they'll just have him pass out. That'll be like the safe option. Like, Cena never gave up. He fought to the very end, and you know, the usuals. So perhaps that's how it'll go. Or for all we know, he overcomes everything and wins one last time. I mean, you could literally go either way with it.
Yeah,
And
and
I think it would make sense.
yeah, and I wouldn't be upset either way because I think, like you said, it makes sense. It's just it's a no lose situation here, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
They're in a no lose situation. They can go either way, and nobody should have an argument otherwise.
Yeah, well, somebody will.
Somebody will because it's the internet, but
Someone's gonna be pissed about something, I'm sure, but just shut up and enjoy it, because it's the end. It,
yeah,
it literally is the end. There's no more, oh, well, there's like this and that and what, this is it. Like,
this is it.
it's supposedly, but I feel like a good chances this is it. Like, there's no more, so sit back and enjoy it while you can, because it's over, which is a very weird thing to say, but it was bound to happen eventually. Time shows up at some point.
For sure.
Anyway, so this is going on as we're recording right now, but what match on Winter is Coming are we most looking forward to us? Or what we're, Jesus, words. It's getting late, guys. What match on Winter is Coming are we most looking forward to? Mom is looking forward to Eddie and Samoa Joe because she thinks that's gonna steal the show.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because that's like my era of when I was introduced to independent wrestling, and you know, Samoa Joe and Eddie Kingston kind of coming out, and they could literally go out there and just beat the hell out of each other. You know,
And they will.
Yeah,
They probably will.
I'm very excited for when we're done recording to check that out. I haven't been excited for an AEW match in a very long time. But I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out and seeing Samoa Joe and Eddie Kingston. That's an independent wrestling fan's dream right there.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I feel like that one's definitely going to be like the top one for me. I want to like see more of the Continental Classic matches, see what's going on there. Interested. I mean, unfortunately, before this, I already did see the women's tag title match. It was pretty good. Still a little mad though. You and I talked about it in the DMs a couple weeks ago because I still was adamant that it was going to be Julia and Sky and Tony and Mina at the end, and they just had to go and mess me up.
Yeah, they heard you. They heard you and said we can't allow that.
Yeah, that wasn't allowed, I guess, which I mean, it sucked because I feel like out of everybody in that tournament, they were the most established team.
Uh-huh.
Because most of the others were either like teams of circumstance or they were just like thrown together just for the hell of it. So I felt like it would have been nice to give it to the team that's been an actual team the longest, but clearly who fucking cares what I think? But obviously with no spoiling, I'm sure people know what's happened by now, but the match was pretty good. I couldn't really complain about it. The winners won and that was it. And yeah, I wasn't upset by it, but I was still, it wasn't going to matter who was going to win. I was still going to be mad because it should have been Sky and Julia, but I'm sure they'll hopefully win those at some point. But I still think they should have been the first, but my opinion does not matter, clearly, to AW and Tony Khan, so it is what it is. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Joe and Eddie because I just, pretty much what you said, want to watch them beat the shit out of each other for 25, 30 minutes, so
yeah.
Can't complain about that one. All right, so we're finally to the last question that I've been kind of like teasing the whole time. So Mom wanted me to talk about the cool things that happen at Steel City Con, and it was really epic. So obviously, we went down a little early Friday. I left work early, because of course my work schedule sucks sometimes when it goes to leaving early with things. So I took a few hours off and we went down early, because we didn't want to try and see everybody all at once on one day, because that's a recipe for disaster, because you're just gonna be waiting in line all day for an autograph or whatever.
Mhm.
So we were kind of dividing a little bit. So we were going to see Linda Hamilton and Robert Patrick on Friday, and then we were going to see Killer and Scarlett on Saturday. And we were kind of like debating on if we wanted to stay Sunday because it's kind of like a slower day. And I mean, you kind of see everything you want to see Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
And the problem with like conventions like this, especially like ours, I guess, is that there's always going to be like people moving around and canceling. So at first, it was a bunch of other like people that we weren't really going to see were canceling or rescheduling for only like 2 days instead of 3 or 1 day instead of 2. And then they said that Killer was only going to be there on Saturday, but Scarlett was going to be there Saturday, Sunday. And we're like, okay, well, we're still going to see them Saturday, so it is what it is.
Mhm.
Then last minute, they're like, oh yeah, Shotzi Blackheart's going to be there on Sunday. I'm
Mm.
like, okay, well, I guess we got to go Sunday then because we watch Scarlet and Shotzi's like Chamber of Horrors, like the paranormal show all the time on YouTube, and I like Shotzi, so I'm like, yeah, we got to go. Like, why not? So we see Killer and Scarlet on Saturday. Like I said, we talked to them for a little bit. We give them their gifts. They love them, and it was just it was funny. So then we go to Saturday or to Sunday. We're sitting eating breakfast, getting ready to go over. Steel City Con posts that Shotzi's flight got canceled from Milwaukee because I guess she was coming in from Milwaukee from a show or something,
Mhm.
and there was no flight that was going to make her get in here on time, so she had to cancel. So we didn't see Shotzi on Sunday,
Damn.
which we're like, oh, well, that sucks. Well, we still had a gift we were going to give to her anyways, and Scarlett's already there, so she pretty much told us Sunday or Saturday. She's like, well, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow, right? We're like, yes, we'll come back
Mhm.
on Sunday. And you don't want to argue with Scarlett, so we're like, yeah, we'll come back. So we came back in. We were talking to her for a little bit, and we're like, yeah, we have Shotzi's gift. We were going to give it to her today, but obviously she canceled. And she's like, yeah, she thought about driving the 8 hours from Milwaukee here, but the weather was just too bad. And we're like, yeah, that was probably a good thing. Like, especially the Midwest in December. It's not really a great combination. You already
Mhm.
know weather's going to suck anyway.
Yeah.
So, so then we give her like the gift and we're like, because we gave her something similar the same days or yes, the day before. So we're like, this was for you and then this was for Shotzi. And she kind of like looks around a little bit because the way they have it set up is they have just like pretty much like any con, just like little booths with little like rows of like to get into people and whatever. And there's always like one singular like handler for each
Right.
like person from Steel City Con. So they had two, which makes sense, whatever.
Mhm.
So she kind of like looks around and then she looks at us and she's like, well, there was this guy earlier that wanted me to try and FaceTime Shotzi since she wasn't here. And she looked at the one handler and she's like, yeah, and we both know why I didn't do that. And I'm thinking, these fucking wrestling fans being absolute fucking creeps. Like, I can't stand them. So they
Mhm.
just give wrestling fans a bad name. And she literally looks at us and goes, but yeah, but you two are cool. So we're gonna see if she'll like answer. So we're like, what do you fucking mean? Like you're gonna call Shotzi right now. And so she starts FaceTiming her. We're not expecting anything because you don't know what Shotzi's doing. She fucking answers in the airport. She's in whatever airport she's in. And Scarlett's like, yeah, these two like cool ladies, like they wanted to see you today and they have like gifts and like literally was explaining to her all the gifts because she's, super into like the witchy stuff. And so we got her these like I don't even know what you want to call them. They're kind of like ritual candles, I guess, or something. You burn them for like cleansing or you need peace or whatever. And
Mm.
so we went to a shop up here and got some stuff. And so she's like, she was super excited. She's like, Shotzi, they got you like witchy stuff. They got you like the candle and they got you like this and they got us like these black onyx like what like going on and on and on and on. And Shotzi was like super cool. And I'm just standing there like, we're fucking talking to Shotzi Blackheart because of Scarlett just thinking we were cool, I guess. So we got to talk to her for a little bit and she's like, oh, I'm really sorry guys, I didn't get to make it. And I'm like, oh well, we'll see you next time because I think they said they were gonna try and bring her back for like the next con maybe or whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, so we got to fucking talk to Scarlett for a little bit and FaceTime Shotzi for like 10 minutes and the people behind us were probably really pissed and I don't really care. Like that's not my problem. But yeah, it was definitely super cool and Killer was also very cool, very tall. I mean, even taller than you think he is. He's huge. But he's super cool. He loved the gift we got him. We got him like one of those little clappers, like the movie clappers, since he's like doing the movie directing and whatever. And he really appreciated that one too. So he kept like clacking it when we were like talking to the two of them. So I'm like, yeah, you can like, put someone's like fingers in there or something. And he laughed. He thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, it was super cool weekend. Definitely I have the pictures up on my Instagram. I have obviously on my main Twitter, I have the professional photo of us, and again, Mike, the only photo of the three or all four of us. But yeah, definitely worth going up. Hopefully Shotzi will make it to the next one. If not, I'm sure they'll bring her in some other time, but definitely worth the trip up for the weekend for sure.
Sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. And then obviously meeting Linda Hamilton and Robert Patrick was really cool too. I know, like, I don't know if I mean, obviously you've probably been to cons or stuff before where sometimes, for the listeners, sometimes celebrities will do this thing where a flat autograph rate is like, if you just want the flat, just their autograph, it's a certain like price or whatever. And sometimes if you want somebody to like add an inscription or add like a personalization, like your name or something, they always charge you extra. That did not happen with Linda and Robert. It was kind of wild. So I went and got Robert's autograph first because obviously Linda Hamilton's line was fucking long. It was huge, but totally worth it though. And him and I were talking for a little bit, and he kind of felt bad because they had just dropped off like some food for him because God only knows how long they sit in those seats for like hours on end. And he's like, "Do you mind if I eat real quick?" I'm like, "No, take your time. Don't worry about it. It's all good." So I had my Skynet shirt on. And obviously, Terminator fans will know what Skynet is. He's like, "Oh, Skynet." He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you, Skynet." I'm like, "Nice to meet you too, Mr. Patrick." And so he's signing my action figure. And not only does he sign his signature, he then signs T1000, obviously, because it's a Judgment Day figure. And then he writes a quote from the movie. Like,
Sick.
he literally writes "Call to John" on it. And I'm like, all of this for just like the regular, like, didn't charge extra at all. Just, and put my name on it too and everything. So I'm like, this is fucking insane. So, okay, so I get done talking to him and then I go over and get back in line because Mom was saving my spot in line for Linda. So we finally get up there after a little bit, and she doesn't give me a quote, but she still personalizes it and then puts Sarah Connor on it. And no charge, whatever. Super nice. She was like so nice to talk to. So yeah, so my little like Terminator loving heart was happy this weekend because that's pretty much what I grew up on. Granted, obviously the movies came out before I was born, but I grew up on them, and I've always thought that they were really cool. I have like the whole like Blu-ray DVD set of all 6 of them in my living room right now. So, hell, I'm even looking at my like T800 like statue sitting in my bedroom. So it's like I definitely grew up on these movies. So it was very cool to get to talk to them and tell them that I grew up on them, and tell Robert Patrick that your character terrified me when I was younger, but as I've grown up, I've learned to appreciate that role more. But yeah, it was definitely super cool, and it's always a good time going up there. We always see like we've been going up there for God years at this point, so you tend to see the same like vendors every time they come in because we have that same convention like maybe 3 times a year, I think. Because it's usually like every 4 months. So the next one will be in April, and then another one will be in August, and then the other one will be in December, give or take. So 9 times out of 10, there's always like a handful of vendors we always like stop and see. And I bought stuff from them pretty much every time. So we always say hi to them. So it's pretty cool. And if you feel like it, dressing up, but I did not cosplay this time. I just didn't want to have to deal with that on top of meeting people. So yeah, it was definitely a cool weekend, and definitely couldn't complain at all.
Damn, that's awesome. I'm glad you had a good weekend. It sounds like, those are the cool things about these cons and stuff like that. You get to meet people you idolized, and, like you said, you kind of grew up on the Terminator movies, and that's got to be a big deal to be able to, just to communicate with them,
Yeah.
just to talk
Yeah.
to them. That seems pretty cool.
Yeah, and I didn't fall over or pass out or anything. I was kept my composure. I mean that's pretty much what I told Linda Hamilton. I said I grew up on these movies, so this is like absolutely insane that I get to meet you, and she was really appreciative of that and was super nice about it. So I'm like, yeah, I mean that was pretty much how I was last con, Hayden Christensen was at the same exact con, because obviously I also grew up on Star Wars, and Revenge of the Sith's my favorite movie of all time. So that was, or one of my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. So that was a surreal moment, because I never thought that they would be able to bring him in. So that was wild, getting to tell him that he was a big part of my childhood. So it's what those cons are all about. Like, it's obviously, yeah, the money, and you have to spend the money on it, whatever, but I think it's worth it in the end, because if you don't spend the money, you're going to sit there regretting not being able to go. So you just, it's our advice to you guys listening at home. Just spend the money and enjoy it. You'll make the money up later. It's just, those are those kind of experiences that you never want to regret not having, because you just didn't want to spend the money, or, oh, I didn't want to take off work. It's like, you'll get the PTO back, you'll get the money back. Just go and do it.
Yeah, definitely. Have some fun with it, because, you get to meet some of your childhood heroes,
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you've been able to do this, and to do it with your mom too, who's a big part of everything. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm glad. I'm happy you had a good time, and I'm glad
Yeah, thank you.
that Killer Cross and Scarlet were nice. Because
Yeah.
that's always nerve wracking too. If you catch them
Yeah.
on a bad day or something like that, not
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be always chippy and happy to see you. So, glad you were able to catch them on a good day and you had a good memory.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it, for
Awesome,
sure.
awesome. All right,
All
so
right,
I
so
think
that's all of it.
yeah, we got all the questions in.
Yeah, we did it. We went through story time, we went through ranting time, so we're done.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We're out of here. Bye. No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
bye. Click.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Just to let you guys know, this podcast is available on all podcast platforms. All you have to do is just search Ringside Rundown, hit the follow or subscribe button, and you should be able to have a notification every week when a new episode drops of the Ringside Rundown for you to listen to. If you don't have a podcast platform that you have, you can also listen to it on YouTube. Full episodes are available on YouTube at our YouTube, youtube.com/at Ringside Run Pod. You can get full episodes of the podcast on there. If you don't have a platform, if you have a platform but you don't see the Ringside Rundown on there, make sure you hit us up on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, in our DMs at Ringside Rundown. Let us know what platform you use, and don't worry, we will get you a link to the show on that platform on a silver platter. But the caveat is it belongs to Shay's mom, so you have to give it back to us. She is a very dangerous individual. She's like on the
Yeah.
FBI's most wanted list.
I can't confirm nor deny that, but don't mess with her. Let's just put it that way.
Don't mess with her and her silver platter. Give it back to her as soon as you get the link. Like I said, we'll find the link for you on that silver platter, but give it back. You can find this podcast on platforms like Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Good Pods, Audible, Amazon Music, and any other podcast platform you can think of. Like I said, just search Ringside Rundown and hit the follow or subscribe button, so that way you can get a new episode every week. We come out with an episode. Usually, sometimes we do recaps and previews of PLEs and pay-per-views. I don't think we have any of those coming up.
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember. I mean, obviously next week we'll be talking about Saturday night's main event, but I feel like no, because I'm trying to let me do some live research right now.
Well, while she's doing that, just to let you guys know, you can follow us, like I said, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Ringside Rundown. We're also on TikTok. If you like short form content on TikTok, follow us on TikTok. Ringside_rundown is the handle. Again, that's Ringside_rundown is the handle for TikTok. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, I am doing live watch along streams on Twitch and YouTube. So check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ringside Rundown every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 8 p.m. Again, that's twitch.tv/Ringside Rundown. We also multi-stream on the YouTube channel. Once again, that YouTube link is youtube.com/at Ringside Run Pod. Did you hit the calendar up and see?
Yeah, so it's looking like for WWE, their last event of the year is Saturday night's main event on Saturday. And then we don't see anything until, shocker, another Saturday night's main event in January. So we're covered there. And as far as AEW goes, we only have to worry about World's End on the 27th. And that is it.
There you
So we
go.
only have 2 more things to talk about for now.
There you
until
go.
next year.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So I guess our next episode will be another questions episode. Don't be afraid to drop a question in our DMs, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Ringside Rundown. Every Monday we post up the tweet asking for questions. So once you see that pinned tweet, you could drop your question in the replies. Also on our Discord server, we have a special section for podcast questions. You can get an invite to the Discord server in the description of this episode. You go to that invite, hit the green check mark so it verifies that you are a human being and not a robot. And then if you have a question for the podcast, you can scroll on to the question section and then ask your question, and we will gladly answer it here on the podcast. And so where can they get in touch with you, Shay?
You can find me on my wrestling Twitter at @ShayRingside_. We always say it's Eric's name just with mine.
Yeah.
I just copied the homework.
She stole my flow.
I mean, you still got it better than I do. But if you also want to see the photo of obviously me and Mom and Killer and Scarlett from this past weekend, you can find it on my personal Twitter at ShayleenHickson21. If you are so inclined, it'll probably be the first thing you see up there, maybe, unless I start screaming about hockey or something. But it's on there. It's one of my more recent ones. But
there you go. Well,
if you want to check it out,
yep, go check it out. You should. Everybody should go check it out right now. Go to ShayleenHickson21 on Twitter and check it out. Hit a like on the picture. We will check you out next week with another episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. For Shay Hickson, my name is Erik Vasquez. We're going to get the heck out of here. Thank you guys for listening. Check you guys out on the next one. Take care.
See you later, guys.